Hello, my name's Sharla and welcome to the Knitalong Challenge for Louisburg Community TV. This week is week 8 of the Knitalong Challenge, so I'll be showing you square number 9 and it's called Eiffel Tower. Now I should first point out and acknowledge Mary B. Davitt from Killeen, because she actually sent me the suggestion for this week's square. Mary doesn't live that far away from me, and her daughter Tricia very kindly sent me some photos as well of all the squares that Mary's been making. So fair play to you, Mary, you've been really busy. Now I'm going to give you a little bit more information at the end of the video as to what we're doing going forward with our squares. But for now, just sit back and relax and watch the video of how to do Eiffel Tower pattern. So we start off this stitch with 40 stitches. You'll see from the pattern it's 16 rows made up of 2 lots of rows of 8 in effect. So row 1, you start off by purling 4. So, 2, 3, 4. And then you'll see there's the asterisk. We do yarn over, so YO means yarn over, so you put it round to the other side of your needle, but then you purl 2 together. So a bit like when we did knit 2 together, you put the right hand needle through the 2 loops, as if rather than going to purl 1, you're purling 2. And by purling 2 together, you're decreasing by 1 stitch, but because you've done the yarn over, that helps recreate a stitch, so you're not actually losing anything. Okay, so there we go. And then we purl 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then we repeat that pattern until the last 4 stitches, and then we just purl the last 4 stitches. So that takes us to the end of row 1. Now this is a fairly, for the actual effect that you get at the end, which is really nice, the actual pattern's fairly simple. So you'll see that rows 2, 4 and 6 of this pattern are the same, as are rows 3, 5 and 7 are the same as each other. So I'll show you row 2. So it starts off with knit 4. Then you've got the asterisk. So everything after the asterisk you repeat. So knit 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then purl 1. And again you'll see this is where the extra stitch was, and you want to go in at the back of this stitch, okay, because it helps create the hole that we want. And then we repeat that, knit 7, purl 1 until our last 4 stitches. So we've come to our last 4 stitches and they're knit 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the row that you would do for row 2, 4 and 6 of this pattern. Rows 3, 5 and 7 are all the same, so purl 4 and then there's an asterisk, so we knit 1 and purl 7, and you repeat that until the last 4 stitches. So we've come to our last 4 stitches and you carry on purling them, so purl 4. So we can continue now, and those are our first 3 rows, but with that pattern that we've just done we can continue up to row 7. Okay, so we've done rows 1 to 7, and our last row, row 8, for this part of the pattern is purl row. So we can purl all along. There we go, there's our first 8 rows done, and as you can see with the pattern, we have our first little row of Eiffel Towers. So first row is a purl 4, or row 9 as I should say, is purl 4. Okay, then we've got an asterisk, and then we purl 4. Then we've got yarn over, and we purl 2 together, just like when we did it in the first row, and then purl 2, and you repeat that, purl 4, yarn over, purl 2 together until the last 4 stitches. So we have our last 4 stitches and we purl 4. Okay, so that's the end of row 9. Just like in the first 8 rows of pattern, the next 6 rows work the same. So rows 10, 12 and 14 are the same, and rows 11, 13 and 15 are the same as each other. So rows 10, 12 and 14 are knit 4, then we've got our asterisks, so we knit 3, then we purl 1. Again, it comes back to being that stitch that we did with the yarn over. So you go into you purl into the back of that stitch to make sure that you create that little gap there, and then you knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then you knit 3, purl 1, knit 4 until the last 4 stitches. We're at our last 4 stitches here, so we knit all 4 of them. Rows 11, 13 and 15 are all the same as each other. So row 11 is purl 4, then you have the asterisks, so purl 4 again, knit 1 and then purl 3, and you purl 4, knit 1, purl 3 until the last 4 stitches. Now we get to the last 4 stitches and we purl them, so purl 4. So we do 12, 13, 14, 15. So we've done up to row 15, and the last row, row 16, is a purl row. So there's our 16 rows, and you can see our 2 little rows of Eiffel Towers have formed. How lovely. So the idea is now that you continue the 16 rows until you've made a square. So there we go, there is our Eiffel Towers. Get them up the right way. You can see they look really good. Now as you can see, I did 2.5 times the pattern. So the pattern of 16 rows and then 8 rows, and I cast off on row 9. So that was my square, and as I said, once we've done all our squares, we'll be blocking them, and I'll be showing you how to do that so they'll all be the same size. Now I did mention at the beginning that I would just run through where we're going forward with our knit along. So this is square number 9, and I think at the moment we're going to be doing 12 squares. So once we've done 12 squares, we'll see where we are with that, and the plan then would be that either you get together with a group of friends locally, so like for our case in Louisburg, I'd really like to be able to get together so that we can sew all our squares together and make one or several blankets, like community blankets, which we could then perhaps donate to charity or do what else, we'll decide what to do with them. If you're knitting along with us but you're not anywhere near Louisburg, you might decide to do your own blanket, and in that case you could knit as many of the 12 squares as you want till you've made a blanket the size that you want. Or you could get together with some friends and do a similar thing to what we'll be doing in Louisburg. The other thing that I will show you is, and that will be in a couple of weeks, probably once we've done all 12 squares, I will also come up with something else that you could make just with the 12 squares, so you don't have to make it into a blanket. Okay, and don't forget, if you've been sort of knitting along with us in our knit along, then I'd love to see how you're getting along with your squares. Until then, happy knitting, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.